Hello and welcome back to my channel. Jacob here, and today I'll be doing a pretty big end of May book haul. I ended up getting a lot more books this month than I thought I was going to. So anything you've heard about me talking about downsizing and stuff, just ignore it because apparently it is not working the way I thought it was going to. I did find a lot of really cool stuff from Book Outlet, Second & Charles, some light thrifting, and yeah, it may have got a little out of hand. But you know what? It's summer, so there's plenty of time to read. So let's just jump straight in here. First up, I have Darker Masks, which is a horror collection edited by J.N. Williamson and includes stories by Ray Bradbury, Graham Masterson, F. Paul Wilson, and Dan Simmons. A lot of authors that I have read or are currently reading. So I went ahead and grabbed this. I'm trying to read more short stories. I'm terrible at it. I'll pick up anthologies and then I just kind of don't continue with them. So I'm trying to get better at that because as someone who is a voracious reader but doesn't always have enough time to dive into a novel, I like the idea of being able to just read a short story before bed or on like a lunch break or something like that. So yeah, I'm trying to get better about reading short stories, and I love horror, so I'm picking up these horror short story collections whenever I can, especially when they are filled with authors that I really like or know. And then next up is The Once and Future King by T.H. White, which is a super classic Arthurian legends retelling, the Knights of Camelot, Merlin, King Arthur, all that stuff. I grew up loving the Arthurian legends. There was a Merlin miniseries I was really into. I was also into the Merlin TV show. And I kind of realized that I haven't actually read any of the basically award-winning and critically acclaimed retellings. So as I've been diving more into fantasy this year, I decided to rectify that, and Book Outlet had this book for like $3, so I just went ahead and scooped it up. What do I got next? So much stuff. And I have Simon Clarke's Vampiric, and that's Vampiric with an RHIC. This seemed kind of cool. It had like a Nosferatu cover. You guys, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know how much I love vampires. So I couldn't not grab this book. It says, Leppington is a small town, quiet and unassuming, yet beneath its streets terrifying creatures stir. Driven by an ancient need, united in their burning hunger, they share an unending craving. They are vampires. They lurk in the dark, in tunnels and sewers, but they come out to feed. For untold years they have remained hidden, seen only by their unfortunate victims. Now the truth of their vile existence is about to be revealed. But will anyone believe it? And is it already too late? So yeah, that's right up my alley. I love vampires. I love small town horror. I love folk horror. So this book was an easy buy for me. And plus it was $2.60. The price tag's still on the back. If you have a Second & Charles near you or half price books, and like me, you read a lot and you want to build out a book collection, or you have like specific things you're looking for, especially if they're older books, I definitely can't recommend enough that you go and check these places out, or even hit like library book sales, or I'll see like church and like around here where I live, there's, especially during the summer season, like schools and stuff are having sales. So there's just so many books, especially paperbacks. Like I've seen so many places where it's just fill up a bag for $5, which if you're let me rephrase this, because I think it was Freud that said collecting books is more addicting than cigarettes. I don't know how true that quote is. It gets tossed around a lot, but as someone who's turned accidentally at one point in their life into a book hoarder, quite by accident, I will say that there is probably a hint of truth to that. So do be careful that you don't end up with more books than you can ever read in one lifetime, especially if you live in a studio apartment, which I do not any longer, but I did back then. Just word to the wise. Next up, I have Flesh Gothic by Edward Lee. I have not actually read a lot of Edward Lee. I'll be honest, I'm not sure I've read any. I think I may have read something that they co-authored, but I hear their name tossed around a lot by a lot of horror authors that I really like. So when I saw this novel, I went ahead and picked it up. I don't know what I'm in for. I think, from my understanding, or at least the authors that I've heard talk about them, that this is going to be very Richard Lehman-esque. It's going to be very splatterpunk, very extreme horror. But I could be completely off the mark. Like I said, I have never read Edward Lee. I'm just going off of kind of the basis of the authors that I've heard talk about them. And it says, Hildreth's house isn't like other mansions. One warm night in early spring, 14 people entered Hildreth house's labyrinth walls to partake in diabolical debauchery. When the orgy was over, the slaughter began. The next morning, 13 of the revelers were found naked and butchered, dismembered and mutilated, but the 14th body was never found. The screams have faded and the blood has dried, but the house remains, watching. Now 5 very special people have dared to enter the infamous house of horrors. Who or what awaits them, and who will live to tell Hildreth's house ghastly secrets? So yeah, I was instantly in love with the back of the book description. I love Rose Red. That is my favorite style of haunted house. You know, Richard Matheson's Hell House, House on Haunted Hill. The remake, not so much the original. The original with Vincent Price is good. It's just very different than the remake, which had like real ghosts, where House of Haunted Hill was like this whole murder plot thing. But anyway, that's off topic. I love the idea of a super murderous haunted house that everyone knows is like cursed and bad things happen if you go into it, and then like a team kind of plunges themselves into that darkness. I don't know why. I think it might be because it's very tabletop-y in a way, right? I can think of a dozen D&D scenarios that kind of play out the same way. I don't know. I've always just really enjoyed, I don't know if that's a subgenre of haunted house books or stories, but that's always my favorite type of haunted house story. I do appreciate we moved in this house and scary things happened, but there is just something very different, I think, about we're going to this house, we know bad things happen. And I also feel like the stories, when told from that point of view, are a lot more fast-paced, because you don't have to explain how this house is haunted. There's no flickering lights and stacking chairs. It's just, oh no, things are moving, we're seeing apparitions, and something is trying to kill us right off the bat. And I like that a lot. So I am excited to read this book and kind of see why everyone, likes seems to really love Edward Lee, because like I said, I haven't read any of his books, I don't think. So I'm very excited to dive into this one for the first time. Next up is a book I found at a free book box. I have been reading a lot of Star Wars this year, and this is Legacy of the Force Tempest by Troy Denning. And this is, on the back it says, as Civil War threatens the unity of the Galactic Alliance, Han and Leia Solo have enraged their families and the Jedi by joining the Corellian insurgents. But the Solos draw the line when they discover the rebels' plot to make the Happen Consortium an ally, which rests upon Happen nobles murdering their pro-alliance queen and her daughter. Yet the Solos' selfless determination to save the queen cannot dispel the inescapable consequences of their actions that will pit mother against son and brother against sister in the battles ahead. For as Jason Solo's dark powers grow under the Dark Jedi Lumia, and his influence over Ben Skywalker becomes more insidious, Luke's concern for his nephew forces him into a life-and-death struggle against his fiercest foe, and Han and Leia Solo find themselves at the mercy of their deadliest enemy, their son. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to read this. I got really into the Thrawn series and read both, I think it was like Heir to the Jedi, or I have it somewhere in this pop. But anyway, the first two Thrawn trilogies. Let me see if I can get all my words up. I read the first 2 Thrawn trilogies. I believe there's another trilogy that's called like Thrawn Ascendancy that I have not read. But yes, I got really into Thrawn. There are going to be reviews on this channel coming up pretty soon. So when I saw this, I went ahead and picked it up just kind of to see if there are any other Star Wars Legends series I might be interested to dive into. Because like I said, I did really enjoy Thrawn, so I'm hoping that I enjoy this as well. It has been a long time, really before this year, that I had dove back into Star Wars tie-in novels. I used to read a lot of them. My library growing up had a lot of like the X-Wing books and some of the Legends books, but never like the full series. It was always like you would get like book 3 or book 5 or something like that. So I don't think I read any of them really in order outside of the Han Solo trilogy. I did get to read that one in order, and I liked that series a lot too. But it's just one of those things, it's like the Star Trek novelizations. There's just so many that it's very hard sometimes to figure out which ones you should read and which ones are like, meh. So yeah, I did Twilight Company, and then, like I said, I've read the Thrawn series this year. Or the 2 Thrawn trilogies. There we go. Next up, I have Predator: Eyes of the Demon. This is a collection of short stories I've actually kind of kept my eye on for a little bit. I did not want to pay full price. I was kind of hoping my library would get it, and it did not. So when I saw it on Book Outlet, I went ahead and picked it up. I'm sure there's a lot of very awesome short stories in here, but I'm not gonna lie, I bought this because of 3 authors that I saw on here. Stephen Graham Jones, Hard as a Chainsaw, Mongrels, the book about the elk woman deer thing that I can't remember right now. Anyway, really great horror author and someone whose books I very much enjoy, followed by Jonathan Mayberry, which if you've been following this channel, you know that I love the Kagan the Dam series. He is the author of the Kagan the Dam series. So, you know, that is I definitely want to see what he can do with Predator. I feel like I'm in for a treat. And then also Yvonne Navarro, who I've read some of their books, and I cannot remember which ones, but I feel like I've also read some of their short stories. Either way, I'm very excited to see what these 3 authors bring to the table, and also read some new authors. There are some names that I have seen tossed around, but I don't think, read their stuff. Tim Lebbin's definitely one. Scott Siegler. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I hear a lot of author names, and I don't... You guys, if you watch this channel, you understand how bad my backlist is. But anyway, I've been keeping an eye on this. I'm excited to see what happens with this. I like Predator. I'm hoping to see different takes on Predator, kind of than what we've gotten in the last few films. Although the one that came out on Hulu, I enjoyed that a lot. Mostly because, I mean, Alien is more forthcoming, I guess, in the fact that, like, we don't need a whole lot of backstory, right? The aliens are super carnivorous. They're going to eat and kill everyone in their way to build, like, these hives and stuff. But predators actually have a civilization, and I feel like the last couple movies kind of teased at that, but didn't really give us a whole lot. Obviously, the one that came out on Hulu was a lot different and did give us some stuff. But the last 2 Predator movies kind of hinted that there's 2 Predator factions that are fighting and this, and this. But either way, I'm hoping that we kind of get a little more in some of these stories. And also, I'm excited to see what, you know, some horror and sword and sorcery authors are going to do with it. Next up, I got Alien: Sea of Sorrows by James A. Moore. Just because I've been picking up a lot of Alien books. I like science fiction horror. And Book Outlet has a bunch of these books, so I've just been scooping up whichever ones will look interesting. And this is Sea of Sorrows. As a deputy commissioner for the ICC, Alan Decker's job is to make sure the settlements of LV-178 follow all the rules, keeping the colonists safe. But the planet known as New Galveston holds secrets lurking deep beneath the toxic sands, dubbed the Sea of Sorrows. The Weyland-Yutani Corporation has secrets of its own, as Decker discovers when he is forced to join a team of mercenaries sent to investigate an ancient excavation. Somewhere in that long-forgotten dig lies the thing that company wants most in the universe, a living xenomorph. Decker doesn't understand why they need him until his own past comes back to haunt him. Centuries ago, his ancestor fought the aliens, launching a bloody vendetta that was never satisfied. That was when the creatures swore revenge on the destroyer, Ellen Ripley. Bum, bum, bum. Next up is Aliens Vasquez by V. Castro. I've read some of their stuff. Also, great horror author. So yeah, that was an easy, like I said, I picked this up. I saw that name. I think Mary St. Giovanni also has a alien novel. Actually, I know for a fact she does. It's called Enemy of My Enemy, and that's another one I want to pick up at some point. And it says, even before the doomed mission to Hadley's Hope, Jeanette Vasquez had to fight to survive. Born to an immigrant family with a long military tradition, she looked up at the stars, but life pulled her back down to earth, first into a street gang, then prison. The Colonial Marines proved to be Vasquez's way out, a way that forced her to give up her twin children. Raised by Jeanette's sister, Rosanna, those children, Letitia and Ramon, have been forced to discover their own ways to survive. Letitia by following her mother's path into the military, Ramon by embracing the corporate hierarchy of Weyland-Yutani. Their paths converge on an unnamed world, which some see as a potential utopia, while others would use it for highly secretive research. So yeah, I'm excited. This kind of seems like it's going to follow a lot of the Colonial Marines, which are kind of my favorite faction. I mean, obviously, they're essentially mildly a step up from mercenaries in this universe, which is pretty bleak. You know, if it wasn't for like the aliens and spaceships, the universe that aliens exist in is almost very cyberpunky. It's a corporate dystopia, and I enjoy that a lot. Next up is a completely different book, and that's Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I keep hearing about this book. You can see I've already started to read it, and I'm halfway through it because it is very hard to put this book down. I didn't know if I was going to like this book just because I've never been a huge fan of a lot of like slice of life stuff, and that's really what this book is. So far, I am really enjoying it. It's very different from, I think, any fantasy series I've ever read. And you know what? I'll be honest, I'm probably going to look for more books like this. I've heard there's another web serial that people talk about a lot called The Wandering Inn. That's kind of similar, so I might check that out once I'm finished with this. And it says, after a lifetime of bounties and bloodshed, Viv is hanging up her sword for the last time. The battle-weary orc aims to start fresh, opening the first ever coffee shop in the city of Thune. But rivals old and new stand in the way of success, not to mention the fact that no one has the faintest idea what coffee actually is. If Viv wants to put the blade behind her and make her plans a reality, she won't be able to go it alone. But the true rewards of the uncharted path are the travelers you meet along the way, and whether drawn together by ancient magic, a flaky pastry, or a freshly brewed cup, they may become partners, family, and something deeper than she ever could have dreamed. I enjoy this book a lot. I'm not gonna lie, I'll probably do a review on it. It's way different than any, I think, fantasy series or fantasy book I've ever read. If you've been on the fence about this book, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, as someone that's like halfway through it, just pick it up. It's a lot of fun. It's on Book Outlet right now for like, I think it was like $5 or $6. Easy buy. Had to put it down for this turned into a review instead of a haul. Next up, I have The Deep by Alma Katsu. I've been wanting to read some of Alma Katsu's stuff for a while. She is a horror author that I hear talked about a lot. And as someone that is a fan of aquatic horror, I was like, this seems like a great place to start. And it says, someone or something must be haunting the ship. Between mysterious disappearances and sudden deaths, the guests of the Titanic have found themselves suspended in an eerie, unsettling twilight zone from the moment they set sail. Several of them are convinced there's something sinister, almost otherworldly afoot, but before they can locate the source of the danger, as the world knows, disaster strikes. Years later, one of the survivors, Irish maid Annie Hebley, is working as a nurse on the 6th voyage of the Titanic's sister ship, the Britannic, newly refitted as a hospital ship when she happens across an unconscious fellow passenger, Mark Fletcher, now a soldier fighting in World War I. Annie is thrilled and relieved to see he survived the sinking, but soon Mark's presence awakens deep-buried feelings and secrets. Forcing Annie to reckon with the demons of her past, they both discover that the terror might not be over yet. So yeah, this seems like it's going to be fun. I like the Titanic stuff, so I'm excited. I've already gotten like chapter 2, and so far I really like the way it's paced. And then next up I have Festival by Christopher Golden and Tim Levin. I've been reading a lot of Christopher Golden stuff, and as you guys know from Tim Levin has a story in the Predator anthology I just put down. This is kind of like an illustrated, it's not a comic, it's more like an illustrated novella. But it's based around like a music festival and a bunch of stuff happening. And as someone that likes metal music, music festivals, comics, and horror, I couldn't, really pass this up. And it says the Valhalla Music Festival commemorates a long ago Viking slaughter, but when strange things start to happen, it seems the massacre may be far from over. When festival goers begin to disappear and musicians find themselves playing mysterious and ancient songs as if possessed, the fans have to figure out what's going on before the festival site's haunting comes back for blood. Yeah, this is just like a fun short read, and probably something I'll pick up multiple times throughout my life. So yeah, I couldn't really say no to this. I like the idea of this. I wish there was more books about basically metal. I feel like there's enough stuff in both genres for good horror tie-ins. And obviously some authors have done that. I've talked about that in other videos. Grady Hendrix wrote a novel like that. Either way, I just really enjoy it and I like seeing it done. So this was and then next up, I've got Great Southern Mysteries, 2 volumes in 1 by E. Randall Floyd. This is just a collection of like Deep South folklore, hauntings and stuff like that. It doesn't really have a description on the back, but it was just something to pick up because I love that type of stuff. And I reference a lot of this type of stuff to pull for stuff in short stories and stuff like that. So it was really easy for me to pick this up, and it was like $3. So that was awesome. And then next up really isn't a book I'm gonna read because I wrote it, and that is The Legend of Beacon Swamp. I just got it with the new cover, but you know what? It is a book that I got this month. It came in with the rest of the Book Outlet books because sometimes that's how Amazon works, which is really fun. And yeah, I kind of got a new cover, which I do really enjoy, although the spine is kind of offset, which I don't love, so I am gonna fix that. But I definitely feel like the new cover is way better than the old cover. So yeah, if you guys didn't know that, I do write books, which I should probably talk about more on this channel, and I will rectify that probably sometime over the summer. And because I know there are a lot of videos I want to talk about, like writing and the writing process, and also just like how AI can work with that, because I work in marketing and we use a lot of ChatGPT and stuff, and I'm already seeing people kind of use those tools for fiction and other stuff like that, and I feel like that would be an interesting topic to talk about, but also not really relevant to this book haul. So yeah, that is the last book of the book haul. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you've read any of these books, liked them, didn't like them, I think there are some books that I would like based on those purchases, always let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.